Yeah, it's like watching a slow motion car crash, a crash that's going to go right into your grocery bills and your power bills. It's a big plan, Labor's big plan to change Australia's economy so that it goes from electricity from coal and gas, mainly, to nice wind and solar instead. Global warming, But that plan's going from bad to disastrous. And now you see it, of all states, in Tasmania. You're already starting to see it in Victoria. Tasmania, though, has got a big advantage. Lots of dams to make hydroelectricity. But even there's now alarm that this state is running out of electricity. Made worse, of course, by the likely cancellation of the Marinas Link interconnector with Victoria because of another massive blowout that's affecting all the big interconnectors that need to be built. And that is, in fact, a double blow because Victoria is already also running out of electricity. And this interconnector was meant to help Tasmania sell its spare electricity to states like Victoria and use that money to drive down its own prices. So Victoria can't rely on that power or the rest of the continent, and Tasmania well. Joining me is the country's top finance writer, Terry McCrann of the Herald Sun. Terry, every week now, there is new evidence that this switch to green power is going to take much longer, cost much more than was promised at the start. How bad is this latest news?
Well, Andrew, just another day in the lunatic asylum that is Australia's energy system these days. Just another example of the crumbling away of the system that used to be providing us with the cheapest power in the world, the most reliable power in the world, and plenty of it. We got as much as we wanted. We got as much as we needed. And this insanity is just continuing. I mean, this was supposed to be, this little small piece of the puzzle was supposed to be connecting up Tasmania's green electricity, its hydropower, although it's not so green to the greenies these days. They don't like hydropower. And Victoria's, whatever Victoria's power system was to be. Coal now, what it's going to be in the future. But we can't even get this little bit of the puzzle right to function exactly as you said, to provide some power into Victoria when Tasmania had a surplus, and in the other direction as well. And the Tasmanians are realising that they are sitting there on an island and they will run out of power. I mean, they won't run out completely, but they will certainly suffer exactly the same fate that Victorians and New South Welsh people are going to be suffering.
Unless they make another dam. I'd love to see that happening in green Tasmania. Now, but what makes all this even crazier, Terry, it's like out of a sick comedy, right? That just as we are running short of electricity, the Australian Energy Market Operator says Victoria will face real serious trouble, maybe in 2 years' time, as soon as that. We get government plans to force us to actually use more electricity. Victoria, which is the craziest state in the country, it's banning new homes from using gas instead of coal-fired power for heating. And now I read this about a report, gas instead of electricity, that I meant, that you've got to go all electrical. I read this report from the Very Green Energy Consumers Australia saying if you quit gas and electrify everything, just plug in everything to the mains instead of gas heaters, you're going to save yourself $4,000 a year plus. Except it's a con, Terry. I've checked the report. You save that money only after you paid for your solar panels, you paid for your batteries, you paid for your insulation, you paid for the electrical equipment, you run a new cord down to your car and all that. Do you believe any of this stuff?
Well, what this is, Andrew, is just a small lie within the overall bigger lie. The bigger lie, of course, is that wind and solar are at least cheaper than fossil fuels, if not indeed free. I mean, you just got to look at those turbines turning over, the sun shining on those solar panels, and it doesn't cost anything. Well, it does cost because you've got to install them in the first place. But in the big picture, you've also got to have a real electricity system running or being prepared to run next to the solar and renewables. And batteries are certainly, we're not going to have enough batteries to cover that. so that when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, we can actually still get electricity from the real power stations. And what you've described in the individual home is just the small version of that. That yes, you've got to spend this huge amount of money to install the stuff up front, but on those days when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow, well, in your case, your sun, well, you've got to draw power from the grid. So you've still got to get that power coming from the grid. It's just the total insanity of walking away from power generation that works to power generation that doesn't work, and which we gave away in the 19th century. We had wind and solar before we got real electricity, and we found out it didn't work. We had a better system, and that's what we embraced, and now we are marching happily back into the 18th and 19th century.
It's just so crazy. And Terry, I wonder if it's going to get even worse, you know, because we're floating on the income from things like gas fields and coal mining. Indeed. And all that. You know, take that away, we'll be really stuck. See now, a strike planned, threatened at the Woodside Petroleum. It's caused a 40% spike in futures, whatever, overseas. You know, oh my gosh, the gas might not flow. I don't know if the strike's going to go ahead, but that's the fear. It's all adding up to, including the tax grabs the government's hit with the gas industry with, like Australia's becoming exactly the place you do not want to invest in for new gas fields, which is going to leave us in the shtuck.
Well, the basic reality, Andrew, despite the tens of trillions of dollars globally that has been poured into wind and solar, 80% plus of energy in the world is still oil, gas and coal, and less than 5%, about 4 to 5%, is wind and solar. I mean, it's just insanity. You've got 3 billion Indians and Chinese laughing at us because they're going to march happily into a fossil-fueled future while we shiver and run out of electricity.
Yep. You wait. If this Woodside strike does go ahead, I bet you the Japanese government, which is getting very edgy with Australia, is going to be talking to the Prime Minister saying, you guys aren't reliable, no more Japanese investment for you. Terry McCrann, thank you so much indeed for your time.